And to my mind, it's something like lottery funding, for example. So I was chair of the Athletes Commission at the time when lottery funding came in. And my biggest concern was actually about athlete welfare, that by making it professional, by bringing money in, what you do is you send a message which negates athletes from searching for something else. And then what also happens is, and I'm sure you see it in rugby, is that the performance director, his job is to win medals. And he is funded to win medals. So therefore, the pressure that he applies to win medals transcends that into coaches. Coaches are being employed because they win medals, and that is all that matters. And then all of a sudden, that then transcends down to the athlete. You need to win a medal. Yeah. Forget going to college, forget getting an education, forget any skills, any development. Just win medals.
Yeah, and I think what you see, what I've done in my coaching career with the coaching children that I do in the schools I go around, is I always preach to people, we talk about rugby players, we talk about athletes, we talk about footballers. To me, I always say, just talk about human beings. Let's talk about people, and let's talk about individual values and what these people can achieve, but also the reality of what they potentially can't achieve. And I think that, to me, is way more relevant. But when you reach elite level, the relevance of that, I think, to society is kind of still relevant, but the relevance to it when you look at a table, when you look at sponsorships, when you look at the millions of pounds that's put into it, then it is all of a sudden people's values, people's realization of who they are as human beings becomes totally irrelevant. Yeah. It becomes totally irrelevant. All of a sudden you become a symbol of how many medals you've won, or how many Olympics you went to, or how many World Cups you've won, rather than who you are as a person. Becomes totally irrelevant. And I feel I've been guilty of it, and I suppose most people, probably everybody at some stage, especially in this arena today, has been guilty of the realization of thinking people are good through success and thinking people are potentially not so good through failure. When the reality is it's not that they're good or bad people through that, it's that maybe they were successful athletes. That doesn't justify the realization of judging their values and who they are as people by it.
To some extent, it's making them a commodity. And I think what I see in sport now, a growing trend in sport now, is that it's easy to discard that commodity. Is that they come to the end of their natural life within a sport, whether it's ended through injury or it's ended through maturation, through age. But the bottom line is that because it's a commodity, you just throw it away. And that, I mean, you talk eloquently about that. And I read a lovely piece in The Guardian where you spoke about the impact on your mental health of that transition, of that sudden realization that who am I? What's my identity now?
And also I think it's trying to deal with the fact that you've been glorified for such a long time in your career. And within Wales, rugby is the national sport. And I was lucky enough to captain Wales, and I was lucky enough to captain the Lions. So I was, I don't like to mix my words, but I'm sure people understand. I was glorified for years and years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, to realize that I'm going to walk down the street and not be glorified, because I wasn't being glorified for who I was being glorified for what I've achieved. All of a sudden I realized that I have to not just do something, but I have to do something that's the best, because I wanted to continue the legacy that I'd created for myself. So it becomes extremely pressurized, extremely difficult. And again, the realization of the majority of athletes, when they're successful, their success, like we spoke about earlier, again, their success is marked on the opinions of other people. The cheers from other people is marked on that success. So, when you're unsuccessful and you carry on in life and you don't have that gratitude, you don't have them column inches, you don't have them headlines, all of a sudden you kind of feel worthless, because it's what you've got used to. So I think as we're talking about, that is also, I think, a responsibility for the player or the individual themselves actually as well, to realize to a certain extent that kind of that will end, and their mental health and how they feel about the world and how they feel about other people will be affected if they don't realize that actually there's going to become a time in my life where I have to accept failure. I have to accept that I'm not the best, and I'm going to go into a company at the bottom of the ladder And I can use what I've got to get to the top of the ladder, but I've got to realise to start off with, I have to not only realise I was successful, but I have to realise also that I can be a failure, but I have to work from that failure to be successful again.